Conor Benn made his triumphant return on the 3rd of February as he defeated Peter Dobson out in Las Vegas. There are now a number of names over from the US and the UK shores who are vying to face Conor Benn in his next fight. Superstars like Devin Haney has already got a fight lined up now with Ryan Garcia. The Eubank Jr. fight looks to be over the horizon, but like the likes of Errol Spence and possibly someone like Josh Kelly remain in the fray. Gervonta Davis is very much at the front of the queue, with a bid tabled and forwarded to Gervonta between 10 and 15 million pounds. We're going to look at some of the names that Conor Benn could face in his next fight. American pound-for-pound star Devin Haney was one of the first names mentioned on the list by Conor Benn and mentioned in his post-fight interview. He said that he'd be happy to take Devin Haney in the UK or over in America, but the bout would likely happen at £147. The fight, unfortunately, will now not happen as Haney has taken the challenge of old-time rival Ryan Garcia, but that could be a name to keep in mind for Conor Benn's future. It seems an age since the first talks surrounding Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn, and that fight is now one that we don't expect to see in 2024. Eddie Hearn has openly stated that fight is not one that they're looking at for Conor Benn currently, and with the array of options on the table, it won't be one we likely see in the future. It could possibly come years down the line when Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn are more progressed in their careers, but the money simply isn't there that Chris Eubank Jr. is suggesting that he wants for the fight. The two have been going at it on Twitter for what seems like months now, but it doesn't seem like we're going to come to any agreement on what could be a UK mega fight. The third name on the list that Conor Benn put out is Errol Spence, a man that's coming off a loss to Terence Crawford but is still a huge star over in the US, and another that had some verbal sparring to do with Conor Benn. He mocked the eggs theory surrounding Conor Benn's failed test from 18 months ago, and Benn retorted, stating the eye injury that happened to Spence in his fight with Crawford. There certainly seems to be some spite in the comments from both, and that could lead us down the line of a fight between Conor Benn and Errol Spence, although they're looking towards a different US star for Benn's next fight. The man in question is Gervonta Tank Davis, of course, unbeaten US star and a pound-for-pound top star as well. It all started with back and forth between Benn and Davis on Twitter, and it snowballed very quickly to the position we're in today, where there is a contract, or believed to be a contract, on the table of Gervonta Davis for that fight, worth between $10 and $15 million. Now, if that is to be believed, then that is huge money for a fight with Conor Benn, a fight that could happen, of course, out in the USA or possibly even back home here in the UK, the first time Conor Benn will have fought in the UK for quite a while now. But Hearn, Benn and Davis all seem set on the fight, so it's the most likely out of the names that I'm going to talk about today, and it could be one that moves pretty quickly. Further names mentioned by Benn are Mario Barros and KELL BROOK. We'll start with Barros, who is the current WBC interim welterweight champion, has losses on his record to the aforementioned Gervonta Davis and, of course, Keith Thurman, but came back strongly with a win over Yordenis Ugas. Out of the names mentioned by Benn, certainly the names over in the US, probably the one with the least star value if he was going to take a fight over there, he would possibly favour a fight against Gervonta Davis, or if it was on the table, someone like a Devin Haney. But certainly somebody who could be inserted into the mix in years to come. The other name I mentioned there was KELL BROOK, a man that we haven't seen since his victory over Amir Khan last year, at the start of last year. He seemingly retired from the sport. It didn't look although we were going to see KELL BROOK in the ring again, but the lure of a fight with Conor Benn seems like it may have brought a bit more of attention back from KELL BROOK. Is that a fight that lots of fans would want to see? I think it's an interesting one. What does KELL BROOK have left to give? If he can get himself into some sort of shape, then maybe he could pose some problems for Conor Benn, who many people don't consider to be quite at that world level yet, something which, of course, KELL BROOK has managed to achieve before. So one that doesn't seemingly be at the top of the list, but one to bubble in the background and look at towards the summer maybe. Outside of the Eubank Jr. fight, there are a couple of other names based in the UK that may be of some interest to Conor Benn. We know his suspension's been lifted by an independent panel, but the board, of course, appealed against the lifting of that suspension, and there is a hearing due later this month to decide whether that will be lifted by the British Boxing Board of Control. If that is lifted, Michael McKinson could be an option. He lost Virgil Ortiz last year. Josh Kelly as well, another option. He's been long linked with Benn over the years and has been calling his name on social media as well. So no shortage of options here in the UK for Conor Benn either. So they're just a host of names that Conor Benn could face in his next fight. As I mentioned, Gervonta Davis seems to be the closest that we're going to get to see at the moment, but who knows where those negotiations could go in the following weeks, and maybe some of the other names that have been mentioned could be tossed into the fray. Let us know who you'd like to see face Conor Benn in his next fight and how you think those fights would go.